we are confronted by, we are now being ruled by a fascist regime. In the most fundamental sense, only a thorough transformation of society through a revolution to break the hold of this system and bring into being a completely different economic and political system, geared to meeting the needs of the people for basic necessities and for stimulating and inspiring intellectual and cultural life, seeking the truth through scientific means and giving flight to creativity and imagination, with new relations among people that do away with all oppressive divisions. Only this can bring an end to the unnecessary suffering that is continually inflicted on the masses of humanity and make possible a world where human beings can truly flourish. Going back to the foundation of this country and the decisive role that slavery played in its rise as a capitalist power, and reflecting on the historical development of not just this country, but human society more broadly, I have pointed to this profound reality. There is the potential for something of unprecedented beauty to arise out of unspeakable ugliness. Black people playing a crucial role in putting an end, at long last, to this system which has, for so long, not just exploited, but dehumanized, terrorized, and tormented them in 1,000 ways. Putting an end to this in the only way it can be done, by fighting to emancipate humanity, to put an end to the long night in which human society has been divided into masters and slaves, and the masses of humanity have been lashed, beaten, raped, slaughtered, shackled, and shrouded in ignorance and misery. Within the framework and limits of this talk, it is not my purpose, nor is it possible, to go deeply into the analysis of why this system cannot be reformed, but must be abolished through revolution. I have done this in the book, The New Communism, which not only speaks to why a revolution is necessary, but also what the character of that revolution must be, and how that revolution could actually be brought about, even up against the tremendous power of the existing oppressive system. And in the Constitution for the New Socialist Republic in North America, a sweeping and at the same time concrete vision and plan for a radically different society and world is laid out, embodying a whole new dimension of freedom and whole new relations among people and between people and the environment, beyond the narrow confines and the terrible consequences of the present system of exploitation and plunder. But whether we consider ourselves revolutionaries, convinced of the need for a radical overturning of the system and thorough transformation of society, or we believe that it is possible to bring about changes that will lead to a more just society within this system, whether our understanding is that America is not and cannot be a force for good in the world, or we hope it still can become that, all of us need to come together and act together with the urgency that corresponds to the terrible present and the gravely imperiled future that this fascist regime represents for humanity, and with the conviction that something far better is necessary and possible. We may have differences about what that something far better is and how it can be brought about. And we should continue to discuss and debate this with the orientation of seeking the truth, whether convenient or inconvenient, comfortable or uncomfortable, and following the truth wherever it leads. But it is not only possible, but crucial and urgent that we unite and actively go forward to win truly massive numbers of people to act in a really meaningful way to bring about the removal of this fascist regime before it can fully consolidate its rule and bring down the full effect of its horrific agenda. In the Paul Krugman article, I put it this way: Krugman is a proponent of capitalism, whereas I am an advocate of communism, a new communism, who is convinced that what is ultimately and fundamentally required to deal with the current horrors facing the masses of humanity and the looming threat to the very existence of humanity is a truly radical and emancipating revolution. But that is not the immediate question and challenge before all of us at the present moment. Rather, it is to deal with the grave danger posed by those now in power through nonviolent but massive and sustained political action. The mobilization of first thousands growing into millions, determined to get and remain in the streets until this regime is removed from power. Does not the common recognition that this regime may end up destroying civilization demand of all of us, all those of many divergent viewpoints, who can recognize that these are the stakes for humanity, that we act together and do everything in our power to bring about the massive political manifestation that is urgently needed to drive out this regime? And in concluding, let me go back to what I wrote at the end of that article. It is in this spirit and with this understanding that it is crucial for everyone, those like Paul Krugman with a prominent platform from which to influence public opinion, as well as those without such a platform, who do recognize and agonize over what is at stake for humanity, to act from their own perspective, to give meaningful support to, and indeed to become actively involved in, the critical work building toward November 4, publicly endorsing and promoting the call from Refuse Fascism, helping to break through what is effectively a whiteout of this in the mainstream media, donating and raising funds, directing people to the refusefascism.org website, and in countless other ways, helping to develop the necessary political and organizational basis for what Refuse Fascism very rightly calls this great cause. For it is the massive and sustained political mobilization called for by Refuse Fascism that truly represents the prospect of forging a positive path through and beyond this extremely dangerous and potentially disastrous situation.